Most men believe the problem is a lack of control, but what if the real issue is something far more subtle and far more dangerous? What if, without realizing it, you are training your body to fail every single time? The truth is, premature ejaculation is rarely just a physical issue. It's a pattern, a set of habits repeated over and over again until your mind and body accept it as the default. And the worst part, many of these habits feel completely normal. They feel harmless, even logical. But beneath the surface, they are silently reinforcing the very outcome you're trying to escape. Imagine putting in effort, trying to improve, yet unknowingly making things worse. That's the hidden trap most men fall into. And until you recognize these mistakes, no technique, no shortcut, no quick fix will truly work. Because you can't build control on top of the very habits that destroy it. Quick disclaimer, this is educational content based on research. If you have serious concerns, talk to a healthcare provider. Let's dive into the main issue. The first mistake most men make is rushing through stimulation, rushing toward the finish, rushing without awareness. It often begins long before any real concern appears, shaped by years of conditioning where speed becomes the goal rather than control. The body adapts quickly to repetition, and when every experience is fast, intense, and focused only on the end result, the nervous system learns to respond the same way every time. Over time, this creates a deeply ingrained pattern where even the slightest stimulation triggers a rapid reaction. What feels like a lack of control is often just the result of training the body to operate on urgency. Slowing down, however, is not just a physical adjustment, it is a mental shift that most overlook. Without changing the pace, no technique can override a habit that has been reinforced for years. The second mistake is relying too heavily on distraction instead of awareness. Many believe that thinking about something else or mentally disconnecting will delay the outcome, but this approach comes with a hidden cost. When the mind is not present, it cannot learn. Control is not built by escaping the moment, but by understanding it. Each sensation, each rise in intensity is information the body provides, and ignoring it prevents any meaningful progress. Over time, this creates a disconnect between mind and body, making it even harder to recognize the point where control can be applied. True improvement requires presence, not avoidance. It requires tuning in rather than checking out. Another common mistake lies in inconsistent habits. One day of effort followed by days of neglect creates confusion rather than progress. The body thrives on consistency, and without it, no new pattern can take hold. Many expect quick results, but the reality is that lasting control is built gradually through repetition and patience. Skipping practice, changing approaches too frequently, or giving up too soon prevents the formation of stable improvement. The process demands discipline, not bursts of motivation. Finally, many underestimate the role of tension. Physical and mental tension accelerate reactions without notice. Tight muscles, shallow breathing, and a stressed mind all contribute to faster outcomes. Relaxation is often misunderstood as passivity, but in reality, it is a form of control. Learning to release tension creates space between stimulus and response, and in that space, control begins to develop. Without addressing tension, every other effort becomes limited because the body remains locked in a reactive state that favors speed over control. The fourth mistake is perhaps the most deceptive because it hides behind effort and intention. Many men focus only on the physical side, believing that control is purely a matter of technique, repetition, or endurance training. They search for exercises, methods, and quick solutions, hoping that one breakthrough will fix everything. But what often goes unnoticed is the role of the mind in shaping every physical response. The body does not act independently. It follows the signals it receives. When those signals are driven by urgency, pressure, or anxiety, the outcome is already influenced before anything even begins. This is where the real challenge lies, because mental patterns are harder to see and even harder to change change. A single thought, subtle and fleeting, can trigger a chain reaction that accelerates everything. Without awareness of these internal triggers, even the best techniques lose their effectiveness because they are applied on top of a mindset that is working against them. And then comes the fifth mistake, the one that quietly reinforces all the others: chasing perfection. The desire to perform flawlessly creates pressure, and pressure creates tension. Instead of allowing progress to unfold naturally, the mind becomes fixated on achieving a specific outcome every single time. This expectation turns each experience into a test, and with every test comes the fear of failure. That fear, even when barely noticeable, speeds up the body's response and reduces control. It becomes a cycle. Try harder, feel more pressure, lose control, and then try even harder again. Over time, this cycle becomes exhausting, not just physically, but mentally as well. What started as a goal for improvement turns into a source of stress, making the problem feel bigger than it actually is. But here is where the deeper realization begins to emerge, and it often comes as a surprise. The issue is not a lack of ability, but a pattern of interference. Each mistake, rushing, distraction, inconsistency, tension, and pressure acts like noise, disrupting the body's natural capacity for control. And when all of these are present at the same time, they amplify each other. This is why progress can feel impossible, even when effort is high. The more you try to force change without removing these underlying patterns, the more resistance you encounter. It's like trying to move forward while unknowingly holding yourself back. And the longer this continues, the more it begins to feel permanent, as if nothing will ever change. The turning point begins the moment you stop trying to fight the outcome and start understanding the process. Real control is not built through force, but through awareness, patience, and consistency. When you begin to slow everything down, not just physically, but mentally, you create the space needed to recognize what is actually happening in real time. This awareness becomes your greatest advantage because it allows you to respond instead of react. Instead of being carried by habit, you begin to guide the experience with intention. Small changes, when repeated consistently, begin to rewire the patterns that once felt automatic. The body starts to adapt, not to urgency, but to control. And that shift, though subtle at first, grows stronger with time. Breathing becomes deeper, tension begins to release, and the connection between mind and body strengthens. What once felt overwhelming starts to feel manageable, and what once seemed uncontrollable begins to slow down. But this transformation does not happen overnight, and that is where most people lose patience. They expect immediate results, forgetting that the patterns they are trying to change were built over time. Progress may feel slow, almost unnoticeable at first, but beneath the surface, something important is happening. The nervous system is learning a new rhythm, one that is no longer driven by speed or pressure, but by balance and control. Trusting this process is essential because doubt can easily pull you back into old habits. There will be moments where it feels like nothing is changing, moments where frustration returns and old patterns try to take over. This is not failure, it is part of the process. Every attempt, even the imperfect ones, contributes to progress. The key is to remain consistent, to stay aware, and to avoid falling back into the same mistakes that created the problem in the first place. Over time, these new habits begin to replace the old ones, and control becomes less of a struggle and more of a natural state. Confidence grows, not from perfection, but from understanding. And with that confidence comes a sense of calm that changes everything. In the end, the real transformation is not just physical, it is mental. It is the shift from reacting without awareness to acting with intention. It is the realization that control was never something you lacked, but something that was hidden beneath layers of habits and patterns. Once those layers begin to fade, what remains is clarity, confidence, and the ability to move forward forward without fear. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.